What is up, players? It's WarbossTae up in this mug. First off, happy October. Welcome to Spooky-toberfest. This is day one of the October Spooky-toberfest 2023 challenge. I hope you join us on the Discord, where we're going to be painting up spooky miniatures all month and answering weekly questions, just having a good time. So head to the Discord in the link if you're not there already. All right, let's talk Tomb Kings. Keeping in line with the Spooky-toberfest feel, this is a video that's a follow-up to my Bretonian video where I went over the rumored army box contents from Chapter Master Varlic. One of his sources, whom he relies on and trusts very much, has given some leaked details as to the first army box sets for the Tomb Kings as well as the Bretonians. I just recently did a Bretonian video, so you could check that out if you want to see what that one is going to have in the box. But here we got some artwork for the Tomb Kings. Very nice artwork. Really good, updated, realistic, grim and gritty, dark artwork. And here we can see in detail the weapons, little scarab bits that Games Workshop had released earlier. And I think I'm more convinced than ever that Games Workshop is going to be putting those weapons and details onto separate upgrade sprues, kind of like they do the Primaris chapter-specific upgrade sprues for the Space Marines for Warhammer 40k. They're going to have these upgrade sprues so you can litter them among your army, give them an updated look, while still keeping those old classic models. And keeping in line with a classic look, here is a Tomb King with hand weapon that was revealed by Games Workshop. You can see that it's very much in line with their classic Tomb Kings, for good or for worse, which we're going to be talking about. But the rumored army box contents, because remember, they're not going to be doing a starter set as usual, where they've got two factions in the same box. You're actually going to be purchasing an army box, like a battalion, that has the old world rules set, as well as the army book for whatever faction that army box is for. So taking a look at the Tomb Kings one, again, this is from Chapter Master Varlic, from one of his trusted sources. Take it with a grain of salt, because Games Workshop can change their mind at any time, shift things around, move things, change things completely. And we're not going to know until they create the official announcement. But this is what we have for now, some scraps, some rumors from the rumor mill. So in this one, you get the old world rules. You get the Tomb King's army book. You get skeleton warriors, archers, cavalry, chariots, and a brand new Lich Priest on a dragon, whatever that's going to be. So these are all the old kits. Like I had mentioned before, you might get some upgrade sprues to change the weapons out, add a little bit more detail to the units, get them looking a little bit more detailed and fancy. But overall, we're going to be looking at classic Tomb Kings models. Now, when Games Workshop first split their undead faction into Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings, their skeletons at the time were looking very cartoony. The proportions were a little weird. You had to really ink or shade in between the rib cages to create that shadow effect. It was difficult to make these look good because they looked kind of silly. And then Games Workshop decided, let's go in with the Vampire Counts. Let's make them look really gothic, medieval, spooky. And so they redesigned the skeletons to make them look more realistic, more in line with what they considered was a good, dark, gothic look. They had a lot more imagery of skulls and bats, and the armor was meant to look corroded and ancient, rather than the old armor for the skeletons, which is just like a shield with a skull on it. These look much more in line with corroded armor and weapons with holes in them and rusted through. They were great. The Vampire Counts were lucky. The Tomb Kings, on the other hand, they didn't get the same treatment. They were released with those clunky, cartoony-looking skeletons, and those never got updated. The skeleton warriors and archers and cavalry never got updated. The Graveguard did, but as you can tell from this old army battalion box, you got 24 skeleton warriors, 16 skeleton archers, 8 skeleton horsemen, and 3 skeleton chariots from this old battalion box. And this was a great box. This was a great amount of miniatures for a box. There was a point when Games Workshop went from these really big battalion boxes to smaller battalions that had less units. They still wanted you to purchase these battalion boxes because they made a great reinforcement to an army you already had, or if you were a new player just starting to collect an army, they were a good foundation. But these old battalion boxes were really where it was at. They also redid the packaging. Look at the cover of this box. It looks a little bit more cartoony, and just like the vampire counts went from very gritty, grimdark to cartoony with their final iteration in the 8th edition of the game, the cover art for the Tomb Kings looks just a little silly, like a little cartoonish. They took away the archers, which meant that you still had the skeleton warriors and the horsemen and the chariots. Still, it wasn't a bad box. You get these 3 big units that were all, I believe, pretty useful for the Tomb Kings at the time. You've got your tar pit unit, the skeletons, you've got the fast-moving cavalry and the chariots. But these battalion boxes were not handicapped, but they missed having like a character model in them. They didn't benefit from not having a character model, some range like that archery unit, or any kind of war machines besides the chariots. So a lot of people thought that it was a step down from the bigger battalion box that had just been available only a couple years earlier. Again, this was the battalion box in the 8th edition of Warhammer Fantasy, and the other one had been released way earlier. So looking at the design of the skeletons themselves, they can be given a good paint job like this. I think this is a great paint job, whereas the vampire count skeletons look more dark. Their shading is more like non-oil, dark black. You can go with Seraphim Sepia and have really sun-bleached brown undertones to the shading in these Tomb Kings, and it looks really nice. I didn't think they did. I was never someone that appreciated the Tomb Kings aesthetic and the style, but I think if you just spray prime these miniatures in a bleached bone color, hit them with the Seraphim Sepia wash, do a light dry brush, and then pick out the details, it looks like a lot of fun because you're not blocked up having to paint lots of detail like the skeletons from the vampire counts. They have a lot more detail now with cloth, strips of fabric, leather belts, and all the different weapons and shields. These look very like classic skeletons. No clothes, no little bits of skin or fur or belts or doodads. They're just naked butt skeletons on skeleton horses. And I remember building one of these skeleton horses back in the day. I think I just built up a model just for fun, a Tomb King's cavalry model, and thinking that the skeletons horses were just very poorly designed. They didn't come together very well, and there was a lot of mold lines on them. It must be because I've reached a certain age. Maybe it's because I've never collected Tomb Kings and I've only seen them very rarely in my old game store back in Hawaii. But I am really actually excited about getting this box set. Like I said, I've never had these models. So with the Bretonnians, I have a collection of Bretonnians. Knowing that they're not really going to get updated was kind of a bummer for me. But never having collected these classic models, I'm actually looking forward to getting one. And I know what you're saying. The aesthetic is very cartoony and silly, and that's totally what Games Workshop is going for. Yes, I've seen all the comments in my other video. They're not looking to update their range. They want to keep all the old kits ready to go. And I agree completely. That's what their goal is. I think with this game, The Old World, they're basically saying, hey, if you have these old armies, just take them out. They're ready to go. You don't have to paint up new men-at-arms. You don't have to paint up new skeletons. But we're going to give you these upgrade kits with some cooler weapons, some new things, so that when you buy the army box, because you're buying it for the books and whatever, you're going to also get these extra bits. Now, if you want to look at some really nice skeleton Tomb King-esque models, I suggest you take a look at some Lost Kingdom miniatures. In fact, there are a few ranges, third-party miniature companies that you can look at on Etsy. They sell the commercial license to print the files for 3D printers, but the best one I found were these Undying Empire miniatures from Lost Kingdom Miniatures. They look really great. Now, they've got a little bit more detail to them, but they look more in line with the theme of the Egyptian skeletons beneath the sands. And you could tell that with the moldering bandages that are wrapped around them. They almost look like mummies come to life. They've got some more detail to them. The skulls look more in proportion to the other undead armies. And I like that their bows are shaped almost like those Egyptian swords with a curved look to them. Everything looks more in line with what I believe Games Workshop could have designed for the Tomb Kings if they had kept going with them in 8th edition. And I think if you are going to be collecting these Tomb King-like models, these alternative models, then going third party, finding miniatures you like, it's a good way to get started. Get ready for the release of the Old World, because I know a bunch of us are going to be getting the army boxes just to get the rules and getting the miniatures, but maybe we're not big fans of those sculpts that are going to be over 30 years old, right? 30, 20, yeah, whew, 30 years old, just about. So we want something that keeps that aesthetic and brings it forward into the current look that we want for our army. We want an updated looking Tomb King. So you can check out Lost Kingdom miniatures. Their stuff is all over Etsy or eBay. I think you could find some stuff for them. Or you could go classic. Maybe you are a Games Workshop purist and you want to just get the Games Workshop stuff. You can find them on eBay. I tried looking on Amazon, haven't found anything there. People are not really selling their collections, or if they are, they're selling them at a premium. So what do you think? Are you getting excited about the Tomb Kings? And if so, are you excited about those old sculpts coming back and possibly getting some touch-ups, some upgrade sprues, and the release of special characters like the all-new Lich King on the zombie dragon, whatever that's going to be, or skeleton dragon? And we've seen the different character models that they're releasing, but it looks like they're going to stick to the old kits for the majority of the armies. Are you hyped out about that? Do you look forward to getting your hands on those classic models? Or this was the biggest thing that I found. This is the only thing I could think would be comparable to a Lich King on a zombie dragon. This is a giant honking sphinx like creature with the bandages and the wrappings and all the hanging skulls on dreadlocks, and you've got the Tomb King sitting on the throne on its back. I think it's standing on like some fallen Egyptian column, standing on the body of a lion, and I think that's supposed to represent like the white lions that the high elves used to fight with. But look at this miniature. This is terrific. I think the background is supposed to be white against a white background, but these pictures I found have this weird pattern on the background. Anyways, let me know what you think. Comment down below, and welcome to Spookytoberfest 2023. We're going to be painting up some spooky models, so join us over in the Discord, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'm really interested what you think about busting out those old models, getting your hands on a new Tomb Kings box set, and painting up those classic models, or do you wish they looked more like this, more updated, more realistic? And will you be using third-party miniatures to substitute for the miniatures that Games Workshop has that you may not care for the look of? Let me know down below in the comments. Hit the like button before you go. Subscribe if you're not already. We'll see you in the next video. Latest, players!